we play a game?
Why, yes. I believe we shall.
Oh, I got a live one here.
Live from Little Rock, it's Shane Plays Geek Talk, a journey into the things we love. I'm your host, Shane Stacks. Thanks so much for joining. Whether you're listening live at 1 p.m. Central on Saturday, March 24th, by either 96.5 FM The Answer here in the Little Rock, Central Arkansas metro area, or online at 96.5 FMTheAnswer.com via the stream anywhere. Or if you're listening delayed by podcast or on Krypton Radio, I'm just really glad you're here. Again, this is Shane Plays Geek Talk. It's just a fun, just geeky Geek Talk radio. I don't know any else way better to put it. I have a variety of topics. Today we'll be talking about a update of a classic Dungeons & Dragons video game. And then next week we'll be talking with, Mythward. Jared Nielsen from Mythward will be coming on to talk about the top RPG Kickstarters. After that, I've got Tom Scioli, comics artist Tom Scioli, coming on to talk Jack Kirby and why he's so important to comics and his personal Kirby comic strip he's doing. So it's just a wide variety of geek topics. First and foremost, it is talk radio. If you're listening live, you can call in at 501-823-0965. That's 501-823-0965. Or you can tweet me at Shane Plays, ShanePlays. And joining me via the magic of Skype is Phil Daigle, who is the studio director of Beamdog game studio. Phil, are you there, buddy?
How's it going, Shane?
Man, it's going fantastic. This is your second time on the show. Thanks for coming back.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm glad that I didn't mentally traumatize you enough last time that you decided not to come back. But last time we were on, we were talking about your Sage, or I always say Sage, it's Siege of Dragonspear.
Siege of Dragonspear.
Siege of Dragonspear, Baldur's Gate Midquel, if you will, which is a story set between Baldur's Gate 1 and Baldur's Gate 2. We'll talk a little bit today about some exciting new news about that, but we're also going to be talking about Beamdog's newest project that's about to release, which is the Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition.
That is right. It is releasing on March 27th. Neverwinter Nights is actually a game that originally came out in 2003.
Right.
And we're just about to push out this Enhanced Edition. And what it does is it basically takes the game, just like we did with Baldur's Gate and Icewind Dale, and it makes it available on modern computers in a very easy and convenient way. And at the same time, we've kind of taken it and updated the user interface. We've added more graphical options. We've improved the multiplayer. We've added way more options for modders to get in and change things.
Nice.
So it's really just the best possible version of that game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be, and we'll definitely get into it more later in the show. We're going to talk about Siege of Dragonspear being released on mobile, and then also, of course, we'll talk about Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition. And I got to give some show notes here in a second, and then we'll do a couple of things, and then we'll jump into all that. But I would say, that Neverwinter Nights is probably the other beloved D&D, franchise alongside Baldur's Gate.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So and also, Neverwinter Nights also, added in, like you said, all these tools for, people to make their own adventures and that sort of thing. And there's several expansions. So I think people will be quite pleased with what Beamdog is doing. I had a question for you on Beamdog. I may have asked this before. I don't think I did, but there's that classic sort of chasing the beam video game reference. Does that have anything to do with Beamdog?
No.
Okay.
Our company name came about in a much less exciting way than you might be expecting.
Okay.
The original concept for Beamdog, this was way back in the day in 2008 when they were initially trying to throw some ideas around for it, was that it would be a digital distribution platform, which is basically like Steam. So if you ever used Steam on computer or, downloading games on PSN or Xbox Live, that sort of thing. The idea was that we would sell you games online, and then we have this little client that downloads the game and gets it ready to play, and you don't have to do anything. And so the initial idea was that, hey, we need to come up with a name that conveys transfer and companion, because we want to transfer the game to you and we want the client to be, your companion. So Trent had this big old spreadsheet of names that he was jamming together, and he landed on Beam for, beaming information, and Dog for, a fun companion. So when I came on board, I immediately questioned him and said, well, why didn't you call it Laser Cat? But then he struck me across the face.
Because if it was the Laser Cat, then it would only deliver the game if it was in the mood.
Mm-hmm. Or Ray Pigeon or something.
Yeah, something Ray Pigeon. Exotic. I like Ray Pigeon. I could deal with that. Well, cool. All right. Yeah, just, I was thinking, I was like, because I'm talking about that Chasing the Beam reference for the old Atari games, right? There was actually a beam that would draw the, it was like an electron gun that would draw stuff on the TV screen or whatever. So
that's actually the name of a really, really good book about that era, called Chasing the Beam. And I read it years ago, and I really, really enjoyed it.
To give credit, that's how I'm aware of that book is how I'm, even aware of that reference or whatever. So, but yeah, there's so many good books out there on the history. So you've been, or the history of video games. I love that stuff. But you've been, so, you're talking about, Trent Oster had all these spreadsheets. I mean, so you've been there since the beginning.
Yeah, so I came in about 2010, and I was kind of the guy that was running the Beamdog store. So I was getting all these games packaged up and functioning on our platform, getting them out the door. And things just kind of continued to roll from there. Over time, the company sort of shifted from being a digital distribution platform to being more focused on Dungeons & Dragons games. Yep. And so that's when we got more involved with actual game development and design in these enhanced editions. Okay,
so the official interview is coming later, but I do have to ask, since you mentioned Dungeons & Dragons, focusing on that, do you feel, because there's a major renaissance in tabletop role-playing games and board games right now.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Obviously D&D is going through the roof. I think they actually said last year was the best year ever for D&D, period. Have you seen spillover into the D&D video games?
Man. Yeah. So I think that there is a tidal wave of exciting things happening, and it's coming real soon. I don't want to talk about specifics, but I think that we're in for a renaissance, and not just D&D, the tabletop game, but D&D in the video game space. Because, I mean, if you look back in the late 90s, I mean, that was an incredible time for D&D with just hit after hit after hit and just constant attention. And I foresee that happening in the near future as well with D&D.
That would be fantastic. So, okay. Well, we will definitely dig more into what Beamdog is up to here in a moment. I got to do some show notes and all that good stuff, and then we will circle back in. And I think we're going to talk a little bit about Siege of Dragonspear, and then we'll roll over into Neverwinter Nights. So, and during any of these show notes, or when I'm about to talk with my engineer Zach a little bit, I always like my guests to pitch it. If you feel like adding to the discussion, you go right ahead, sir. So that would make me nothing but happy. So, all right. So the couple of housekeeping notes here. Again, this is live talk radio, so if people want to call in, it's 501-823-0965, or you can tweet me at Shane Plays. The show notes and links for this show, if you're listening by the podcast or Krypton radio version, will be up at shaneplays.com. And then last week's show is archived on the blog and is out as a podcast and everything. And that was, we talked with... speaking of the D&D Renaissance, we talked with RPG designer Mike Myler about his Mist of Akuma 5e setting. He's kickstarting a mega adventure called Imperial Matchmaker, and Mike is also the new editor for Ian World's Insider, which is a Patreon supported thing from Ian World that releases, I think, 5 periodicals or whatever a month, specifically with 5e material for the D&D 5e world. The show does go out as a podcast after the live show, usually within 2 or 3 days, sometimes a little later, sometimes a little earlier. It goes out on the blog at shaneplays.com, iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, and I've got some interesting news about Stitcher here in a second, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, and more, including I put it up on YouTube. And some people are starting to discover the show on YouTube. I have a whole YouTube channel. You can go to youtube.com/GoShanePlays. And I do, speaking of D&D, I do D&D videos on, how to run campaigns and whatnot. I do comic book reviews. I put the show, if it's geeky and I have time, I'll put it up there. So, in fact, I've got an unboxing video coming from a RPG from Rodney Thompson, who was on the D&D 5e team, called Dust City Outlaws. And that is, check this out, Phil. Tell me if you wouldn't want to play this. It's a tabletop RPG where it's basically a heist movie in a fantasy city. So,
man,
yeah.
That's kind of like right up my alley
Yeah.
of heists in a fantasy setting.
Oh, yeah.
I'm kind of sad that there isn't like some sort of XCOM fantasy heist game
like
out there.
that. Well, the next best thing, if you're going to go from the video game to the tabletop, is Dust City Outlaws. And Rodney Thompson, like I said, he was on the D&D 5e team. He was on the Lords of Waterdeep board game team. He's over at Bungie now, working on Destiny, doing game design for Destiny. And this,
Oh, wow.
yeah, and I had him on several months ago on the show. But yeah, it's basically Ocean's 11 meets D&D. And you know, you spend the first 15, 20, you have a timed, like the first 15 minutes of every session, you're like, plan your heist. Like, okay, time's up. Let's do the heist. So,
So it's actually timed. You have to get a little clock there.
Evidently, yeah, the planning is timed. Like, okay,
wow.
you've got this, plan your heist. Now we're going to go do it. And the adventure is set up in scenes, like scenes in a movie. So, yeah, so pretty neat. Okay.
I read a really interesting quote once where the best tabletop games are a series of unlikely successes and incredibly memorable failures.
Yep.
And that game sounds exactly like the kind of breeding ground for those kinds of events.
Right. No doubt. And that, you know, it looks like a lot of fun. I'm going to run it. I like to run games like that at conventions, or like if we're doing like a one shot, like free RPG day kind of event. I like to run games like this in one shot. So I'll probably be running this on free RPG day at, we have a sponsor, a game store is a sponsor, Game Goblins, and I'll probably be running it there. But yeah, you check it out. It's Dust City Outlaws.
Dust City Outlaws.
Yeah. So, okay. Also, Shane Plays, in addition to the podcast, Shane Plays is carried on Krypton Radio. Krypton Radio is sci-fi for your Wi-Fi. KryptonRadio.com. So I got a couple other notes here. One, Shane Plays sponsor Arkansas RPG Con. Badge sales are now open. Vendor and sponsorship options are also open. Go to arpgcon.com for more info, and make sure to follow Arkansas RPG Con on Facebook. Also, I've got this is not a sponsor. I'm doing a PSA, public service announcement. Heroes and Angels Comic-Con is April 28th, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Greenbrier Events Center in Greenbrier, Arkansas. Heroes and Angels Comic-Con. You don't want to miss this. Tons of activities for the kids, special guests, and free admissions. Donations will be accepted. All proceeds go to Heroes and Angels, a nonprofit organization that provides assistance to families affected by childhood cancer and to military families in need. And if folks will remember, you know, I did a show a few months back on, they had a big convention here in Little Rock, and it turned out the guy who was running it was a big con artist. So it was a con on two different levels, and he ran with a lot of money, including money that was supposed to go to families affected by childhood cancer. So let's support Heroes and Angels Comic-Con. And Malcolm Fledge, that's not your real name. We haven't forgotten about you, and we're keeping the news out there. So we may not
and the Fire Festival guy should probably share a cell.
Or something. It's just really, you know, I mean, this guy, it's one of those things, you know, and of course I did a show on it, but, and you know, it was a different kind of show. Usually I keep the show fun, but that one was like, I'm going to kick your blankety blanket. I mean, I was really upset. But yeah, he, looking back on it, it's like every red flag was there, right? But when you're in the middle of it, you know,
you want to believe.
Yeah, you want to believe, you want to help, you want to have fun. So anyway, all right. So now what I got to do, Phil, my news team, the head of my news team, Sal. By the way, folks, for every dollar of support the Patreon gets, the news team gets a penny an hour raise. It's a win-win for everybody. Wow. But yeah, wow, right? And the news team, the head of my news team, Sal, his grandmother and her dog Muffin, they get upset with me if I don't banter with my engineer Zach. They love Zach, so I got to banter with Zach real quick so that I don't get a nasty gram.
All right, I'll sit tight.
Well, you can jump in. You're welcome to jump in on this too. But Zach, just want to remind people: are we still on April 1st. This isn't a joke, even though it's April 1st. The station is changing to 101.1. Is that not correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and what's good about that?
Well, we have a better signal to the people.
Better signal. The 100,000 watt blowtorch of the Mid-South. So how many more, what towns are we going to reach now that we may not be reaching right now? Or that we will be?
Conway and Morrilton.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
We like that.
Yeah.
So if the atmospheric conditions are just right, we may hit them now, but we'll definitely hit them after the change. So folks, if you listen on the radio live, and I know a lot of you out there do, next weekend will be my last live show on 96.5. We'll still be the answer.
Right.
We'll still be with Salem Communications, but we'll be 101.1.
Mm-hmm.
And if you listen by online stream, then I'm sure the URL will change to whatever. Do you know if the new website will be up by then, or will it? I mean, will they go? Do we have the details on that yet?
I'm not even sure.
Okay, we'll figure it out. It's like live radio. We'll figure it out, baby. We're always one foot teetering over the cliff. So, which makes it. Yeah, go ahead.
So help me out here. I'm not super familiar with how radio works, but when you guys change frequency, it's true that you have to fight the previous station that had that frequency for it, right?
Yeah, I guess it depends on whatever the legal situation is.
So there wasn't like a hand-to-hand combat scenario.
We can't talk about it. See, that's the thing. Zach's got a couple of those butterfly tape things over his eyebrow. I've got the left side of my jaw is a little bit swollen. But yeah, there can be situations where you have double secret fight club and the victor gets the frequency. In this case, I believe that Salem Communications did some corporate raiding and just bought the frequency.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
they did the fighting on your behalf.
Yeah, pretty much.
They've got people for that.
Yeah,
okay,
they got people for
cool.
that. Yeah, they got people for that. So, but yeah, there have been times where, sometimes when a radio host, they say, oh, this radio host took another job and they're in whatever city. Actually, they were a fatality of a secret frequency rumble. It happens.
Because you never hear from them again.
Exactly.
Who's going to double check?
It happens, Phil. It happens. So, but that's as much as I could talk about it. So the other thing is, and this is cool, Zach, check this out. As I always say, a win for the show is a win for you too, because you help make it happen. Shane Plays, the podcast version, was recently a top 100 mover on Stitcher.
Really?
Yeah. There's we were a top 100 mover on Stitcher, and out of the 100 top movers for that week, we were number 46.
That's awesome.
That's great, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, fantastic. So good on you, Zach. Congratulations for helping make that happen.
You do most of the work.
No, it's a team effort, pal. If people, I'm not dissing podcasts because I love podcasts.
Yeah.
But people don't know what all goes on up here at this radio station to get this thing out. So, I mean, you're literally sitting there at the bridge of the Star Trek or the Starship Enterprise making stuff happen. So, thank you, Zach. And everybody
it's more exciting when it's live.
It is. Yeah, you never know what's going to happen. I love live radio. The other thing is, and all my listeners out there, if you happen to listen by Stitcher or whatever, thank you. I do this because I enjoy it, but I'm not going to lie. I love getting feedback like that. It makes me feel great. Put the little spring in my step. So, all right. And the last thing is, Zach, you know that Arkansas has an official dinosaur. I'm not joking. This is not a bad joke. I do a bad joke of the week, Phil. I don't know if you know that or not.
I've got a lot of bad jokes. Go ahead.
Good. Yes. So this is true. Arkansas has an official dinosaur now. And it's because it's the only bones that have ever been found in Arkansas. It's called the Arkansaurus. It's been known about for a long time, but I guess the legislature made it an official dinosaur. It's the Arkansaurus, but you know what I'm going to call it? The Yalasaur. Because it's Arkansas, baby. It's the Yalasaur. Phil, what do you think? You think the next Jurassic World needs a Yalasaur running around?
I think I hear sirens in the distance coming for you.
It's a friendly dinosaur, except every now and then it has one too many. Then the next day, you just you have to, that's old Yalasaur. He had a couple last night. Yeah.
Yep.
So anyway, got into the chickens. So all right, knock the outhouse over. I can say that.
I got a D&D one for you.
Lay it on me.
All right. Why do paladins like chainmail?
I don't know.
Because it's holy armor.
There we go. That is exactly the kind of joke that is welcome and encouraged on the show. My joke last week was, why does the U.S. need so much defense?
Why does the U.S. need so much
Because it only
defense?
has one constitution.
Oh.
So, all right. Let's
wait. One more. Why does everybody love hit points? Because they're the life of the party.
Yes, sir. Yes. Zach is in there clapping. So thank you, sir. Yes, that is the kind of joke that is, again, more than welcome on Shane Plays. If somebody out there didn't just grimace and lunge for the knob to turn off the station, I'm unhappy. That's the kind of joke I want. All right, let's do this, Phil. Before we get into our first break, I wanted to talk about Siege of Dragonspear Mobile a little bit, if you're cool with that. Okay, so Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition is coming March 27th. Today is March 24th.
Yep.
As I understand it, Siege of Dragonspear Mobile is already out.
It came out last week, in fact.
And the only reason I didn't go buy it on mobile is because I have it on desktop. So,
well, that's a fair reason.
Yeah, that's a fair reason. But I'm sure that people are picking it up and on mobile, and the mobile gaming experience is getting better and better. So, one thing I wanted to ask, the most obvious thing of note for me, other than the fact that it's on mobile, is that Baldur's Gate, and this again is a midquel. It tells a story in between Baldur's Gate 1 and Baldur's Gate 2.
It connects the two games together.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a lot of fun. So, and it also has a scene in it where the most sprites ever in a battle using the Infinity Engine.
That was my fault, and I can go into some detail on that later, but there was a consequence there.
Oh, was there? I just remembered that was one of the selling points. Like, the battle with the most sprites ever.
It's a double-edged sword.
It was a double-edged sword. Okay. So now the desktop version, it's an expansion for the Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition, and so it's considered an expansion. But on mobile, this is a standalone game. Is that correct?
That's right. So the game is totally standalone. You don't have to own Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition or Baldur's Gate 2 Enhanced Edition. What you can do is you can either pick up the game independently and just start a new character and start adventuring, or you can import your character from Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition into Baldur's Gate Siege of Dragonspear, and then you can continue your adventure like that. So there's a variety of ways to get into it.
Okay.
The reason we split it off is mainly because the game is just too big. Baldur's Gate by itself is almost at the application size limit on mobile platforms.
What is that?
Dragonspear.
Do you remember off the top of your head what that size limit is?
I think right now it's 4 gigs,
Wow.
and Baldur's Gate by itself clocks in at somewhere about 2.8 or maybe 3.5 gigs, and then Dragonspear is probably another couple gigs.
Wow.
So we had to break it apart.
Okay, well, that's interesting. So now, are there? It's the question that's obviously going to pop up into some people's heads is: are there plans to ever make Siege of Dragonspear standalone on desktop in the future?
It's something that we would love to do. It would certainly make our lives easier in selling the game, but that would be kind of a long-term thing that we're looking for. I think that's something that I'm going to look into potentially next year. So right now I'm sort of shepherding the Infinity Engine projects along, and I've got some plans for the next little while. We're working on a new patch for all the games, and that could be something that I look into in the next year.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, it wasn't a barrier to entry for me. Right. I mean, like, it's Baldur's Gate and I'm going to get, EE anyway and da-da-da. So, but, I was just curious if that was something that you thought would move the needle a little bit on desktop.
It would, because you see the game and you're like, I think I need to finish, this huge, colossal, first game before I get into the huge, colossal expansion. So it's definitely a bit of a hurdle.
Okay. All right. Interesting. So, and I'm not looking for dollars or numbers here. That's your business, not mine. But I am curious, how has the sales and reception been in general for Baldur's Gate Siege of Dragonspear on mobile? Did you feel it's on target, above, below? Like
on mobile, it's actually doing quite well. So because it's a smaller game, it's not as big as BG1 or 2. and it's obviously not as well known. It's probably not going to do as well as those games because they do crazy numbers. Just actually last week we hit number 2 in the App Store for both Baldur's Gate and then Baldur's Gate 2.
Now was that
those games,
was that the Apple or the Google Play?
That was the Google Play Store.
Okay, which is a bigger ecosystem. Yeah,
those games are doing crazy numbers, but Siege of Dragonspear is actually doing quite well. It's similar to Icewind Dale in terms of numbers, which also was quite good for us. So I'm very pleased with how Siege of Dragonspear is doing, and combined with desktop, the project was really good for us in the end.
Okay, excellent. So you would feel that it's either at or above expectations.
Yep, absolutely.
Good. Fantastic. So I would assume that bodes well for future content on mobile. So, depending on resources, that's what people forget. They're like, I want whatever now. It's like, man, there's a whole lot of stuff that has to go make a game, even a game that is quote unquote already done, to put something on mobile.
Yeah.
It's not.
I think it's pretty astonishing that, given the team size that we have, we're able to continue patching basically 5 separate games that are all roughly the size of Skyrim.
Yeah. Wow.
So
okay.
It's been a long road, but we've been balancing those games pretty well, and I'm actually really, really proud of the work that the team's done.
Fantastic. So okay. So last question I have on Siege of Dragonspear, because my main focus today is on Neverwinter Nights, but if you want to add anything, please feel free. Do you think you'll ever hit a point where you go mobile first or mobile only?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
I think the issue is what game we're producing. So if we were gonna take a classic game and remaster it, obviously desktop would go first because that's the easiest target to hit.
Right.
If we were to produce a new game, I can definitely see the potential for doing a mobile first game or an experience that's geared entirely towards iPad or iPhone or something like that. That's definitely something that we've explored in the past, and I think that there are absolutely opportunities for D&D games that are exclusive to mobile that are just really deep and really fun.
Well, that's the thing, the deep, because there's stuff that's exclusive to mobile right now for D&D, but it tends to be lighter, or it tends not to be a full implementation of the D&D rule set, but they're using the D&D brand to expand, quote unquote, what D&D is, which you can argue for or against that, depending. When I think of D&D, I think of the full rule set, right? And the classes and the races and this and that, but whatever. I'm not here to chase that rabbit. So, I did have a couple of other questions here. I lied when I said that was my last question. In the live, this is from the Kotaku article, that you were recently quoted in a lot about Siege of Dragonspear. It says Siege of Dragonspear is finally coming to mobile. And so on Kotaku, you mentioned that user interface niceties and quality of life updates from the release of Planescape Torment Enhanced Edition have made their way into this version of Siege of Dragonspear. So this is the mobile version, not the desktop. The desktop version will get the updates later.
Yeah, so the desktop version is going to be part of. So we're patching all of the games right now. We're going to be doing a big desktop patch in the near future. So Dragonspear on desktop is going to get a bunch of updates soon.
Okay.
But the mobile specific stuff that we took from Planescape Torment Enhanced Edition was actually really, really cool. So there's a lot of text and reading in these games, and we don't really shy away from that. Like, these games are designed to be enjoyable experiences that you spend a lot of time reading. And so a lot of the UI interface improvements that we added were getting through that text nicer and easier to read. So we made the interface for going through conversations a lot less awkward. There's now buttons along the side for controlling the conversation and that sort of thing.
Well, you kind of have to, right? Because it's a mobile.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
And then there's a million tiny things that we did here and there with the UI. But yeah, Planescape taught us a lot of really great lessons about really making tablet and phone feel good.
Excellent. Okay. And then it sounds like that, and unfortunately we don't have time to go deep into this, but I just wanted to ask real quick. You also said that you've made the team modified some quests and changed some things. Unfortunately, we don't have time to get deep into what those are, but is it still the same basic experience? Is there maybe...
It's the same basic experience, yeah. So the intent is that once Dragonspear is patched on desktop, you'll be able to play with people on desktop. It's the same game.
That's
entirely,
cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's true of all the enhanced edition games. Is we maintain cross compatibility. So if you're on tablet, on your iPad, or dude's on an Android device and somebody else is on a PC, it all works together.
That's fantastic. So when you modified some quests, I'm assuming those are more like side quests, not like, okay. All right. Okay, cool. And as far as the Infinity Engine 2.5 update that will bring this stuff to desktop, I know you don't want to get nailed down to a date, but do you have a very extremely vague ballpark that might possibly be mentioned that you wouldn't be held liable to?
My personal wish is that we're finished by the end of April.
Fantastic.
That's what I am driving to have done. Now, whether we hit that target, we'll see. But that's what I am aiming for. We're in the middle of actually updating the beta for that 2.5 patch. We're releasing a whole ton of new languages and localization updates. So people are actually able to access all those new features now if they want to opt into a beta.
Excellent. Okay. Well, that's the time we have for Siege of Dragonspear on mobile. Folks, keep in mind that all the cool stuff that made it into the mobile version will roll out into the desktop version when the Infinity Engine 2.5 update rolls out to desktop. And you just heard it here, cross-device play, among the same game on multiple devices, which is excellent. When we come back, got to get us to a break. When we come back, we'll talk about Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition and what's cool about that, the update of the classic, like I said, this is, a beloved franchise, video game D&D franchise up there with Baldur's Gate. So I'm sure there's a lot of visibility on this. Got a new sponsor here. This is we partnered up with the same people last year. Looking forward to this year. 10 years strong. The 10th annual Little Rock Comic Con is May 19th and 20th at the Benton Event Center. This year features the biggest selection of comics in LRCC history with 15 booths of nothing but comics, plus other great vendors as well. Don't miss the cosplay contest or the after party with VIP con guests at Dave & Buster's. Con guests include Blake Foster of Power Rangers, Michelle Harrison of the Flash TV show, Transformers comic artists Robbie Musso and Jesse Wittenrick, I think, and more. Michael Tierney, our sponsor with Collector's Edition and Comic Book Store, will also be there as a guest. All right, celebrating 10 years strong, this year's Little Rock Comic Con is May 19th and 20th. Find Little Rock Comic Con on Facebook or lrcomiccon.com. We'll be back in a moment.
Comic book lovers, visit thewildstars.com today. From the mind of author and comic book industry expert Michael Tierney, it's not just a comic book, it's a comic book novel. The Wild Stars is sci-fi and so much more. Learn the explanations behind UFOs and space gods. This isn't the Twilight Zone. This is the region of the Milky Way galaxy known as the Wild Stars. We guarantee you've never read anything like it. The complete comic book novel took 20 years to tell, with one reviewer noting, the story of the Wild Stars stretches ambitiously across space and time, from small-town murders to the destruction of planets, with every event given multiple layers of meaning. If you haven't read The Wild Stars, you're missing out. Visit thewildstars.com today.
The die is cast.
Plunge into worlds of fantastic adventure where dragons lie and the undead stalk the shades of your mind's imagines. Where creatures of legend plunder wealth through the horror of their passage. Monsters grim and foul hold the ecstasy of gold and the renown of glory. All this and more awaits you and your friends in the unlimited, fantastic world of the Castles and Crusades role-playing game from Trollord Games. Visit your friendly local game store or Trollord.com to get your copy today. A rules-light, adaptable game that has stood the test of time. 12 years in constant publication with no new additions. Castles and Crusades is the original, easy-to-play attribute check system. Join us and unleash your imagination. Visit your friendly local game store or Trollord.com to get your copy of Castles and Crusades today. Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/ShanePlays.
Hey, welcome back to Shane Plays Geek Talk, a journey into the things we love. I'm talking with Phil Daigle, the studio director of Beamdog.
going?
Yeah, hey Phil, and we just talked about the Baldur's Gate Midquel Siege of Dragonspear now being released on mobile. So if you're listening live and you missed that part, make sure to check out the podcast version that comes out in a couple of days. Now we're going to talk about Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition. Now with the time, and this was Neverwinter Nights Enhanced, or Neverwinter Nights. Well, first of all, the original Neverwinter Nights was an early 90s, basically one of the first MMORPGs on AOL that
you had to pay by the hour to play that thing.
Pay by the hour, and it was an adaptation of SSI's beloved Gold Box game engine, and they had brought it over to AOL, and you could play D&D with your friends at an incredibly expensive rate on AOL. That was Neverwinter Nights, and I think it went through like 1997 or something like that, if I remember correctly. Then in, I think 2002, June of 2002, was it, BioWare released Neverwinter Nights, which was the successor, if you will, to the Baldur's Gate franchise. And they took D&D, and it was the first time I don't know if it was the first time, but they used the D&D 3rd edition rules, and it was also a 3D game engine. On top of that, you had Dungeon Master tools, so you could build modules and you could run people through games. Now, one of the things that they did that changed sort of the game feel was that you went from having a party of companions to you had your main character and you could have one companion with you at a time, which most people didn't seem to object to once they got used to it. So, and the whole game was designed around that concept. Now, it was set in the Forgotten Realms. It was obviously set around, Neverwinter, and I think, there was like this curse plague. Yeah. There was all kinds of stuff going on, and it was great, and people loved it, and it had a great community of people who played it. Still has a good community of people who play it. Now, that's about as much time as I want to spend on the original Neverwinter Nights game, so that we can talk about what is new. But is there anything that you want to mention about the original Neverwinter Nights game?
I think just to really underline that it was so incredible to put the tools to build content into the hands of the players in a way that was really approachable and easy for them to use. And that just kind of spawned this incredible galaxy of user-created modules, content, characters, all sorts of stuff that's kept the game rolling up until today. Even without the Enhanced Edition, Neverwinter Nights still has a very active community.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the biggest thing for me that really blew me away when Neverwinter first came out was that you could have up to 64 players on the same server together, which essentially meant that you could have your own tiny little online RPG, little MMO. And so that resulted in, thousands of these little persistent worlds spinning up and being tiny micro MMOs that were essentially free to play on. And I always thought that was so amazing, especially in 2002.
Right. No, it's, and it is. That was amazing. It was like really an MMO type experience that the players could control. And also, I'm sure there's some game designers and developers and writers that cut their teeth probably for the first time playing with the Aurora tool set. So, and that was another thing. Go ahead.
At the University of Alberta, and I know a few other universities do this, at the Compute 250 course, you actually will use Neverwinter Nights to work with a team to construct a game just to learn about game development. So it's actually used in curriculums. Nice.
Okay, so I've got a buddy. I think you may have talked to him. I don't know if you've been on the show or not. Matt Barton, who does the Matt Chat TV show on YouTube, and he's actually a PhD, but he's also crazy about video games. So I need to ask him if he uses it. Because he teaches video games at his
it's
college.
an incredible tool, not just because D&D is such a very clear-cut system, but because the editor for the game allows you to do some really deep, complex programming things that other game engines wouldn't let you do. So it's kind of the perfect environment for students that are learning game dev.
Gotcha. Okay, so now I know that Baldur's Gate uses the Infinity engine, and I know that Neverwinter Nights uses the Aurora engine. Was it also, do they call it the Aurora tool set if you're going to develop content, or do they have a different name for the tool set for developing stuff?
It's typically either the Aurora tool set or the Neverwinter tool set is kind of what you would refer to it as.
All right, cool. Just want to make sure I was getting the old terminology right. So here's what I want to do. I want to look at what Beamdog is bringing to the table with Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition. which it will be available starting March 27th on like Steam. Is Steam going to be or will it also be on GOG? Or
That's right.
Okay.
So at launch on March 27th, we're going to be available on Steam and Beamdog. And if you buy on Beamdog, you can also get a Steam key. After that, we will be launching on GOG and other platforms eventually. But for this first little while, we'll just be on Steam and Beamdog.
All right. So, and I'm not trying to put the cart before the horse. You're just now getting Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition out. But are you guys already talking about how do we get this on mobile? Since we were talking about Siege of Dragonspear mobile?
I mean, I could get in trouble and tell the truth about, yes, we're deeply interested in getting this thing on every platform that we can.
But you would never do that.
I'll be good and not tell you all those things.
Okay. I would never want that.
That's a big focus for us in the future is getting Neverwinter on mobile.
All right.
I'm not going to tell you those things because that would be revealing our plans.
And I would never want you to do that on
and that would be wrong
or other. It totally would. So yeah, hypothetically, you would never tell us that kind of thing. All right.
Yeah.
So,
but just to not stop dancing around the issue, it is something we are super interested in doing. Whether it's the entire experience remains to be seen, but I think Neverwinter Nights on mobile, I have some really cool ideas for what you could do with it. And top of my list is being able to play on servers with people on desktop. So that could be really, really fun. Nice.
Okay. All right. So here's some of the enhanced features. This is directly from the Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition page at Beamdog. Got improved display. Your portrait combat bar, inventory, and other UI elements adjust in size based on your chosen resolution, including 1080p and 4K. How much 4K use are you guys seeing among players right now?
It's probably sitting at about 20% on desktop.
Oh, that's higher than what I would have thought. That's higher.
It is pretty high. Yeah. I mean, the telemetry that we get is only from a few sources, so we may not be seeing the full picture, but people have responded incredibly positively to the Planescape Torment 4K support. And we knew that, hey, HD displays are only going to get more and more common as time goes on. So at present, if you play Neverwinter Nights, the UI just gets increasingly tiny because it was designed back when computers were running, 800 by 600 or 1024 by 768.
In non-windowed mode.
This is a highly in-demand feature.
Right. Okay, cool. Yeah, that surprises me it's that high. So advanced graphic options. We got pixel shaders and post-processing effects make for crisper, cleaner visuals. Enable contrast, vibrance, and depth of field options is preferred. Now, in Siege of Dragonspear, and I think it got rolled out kind of to Baldur's Gate EE in general, you could choose this option to outline the character sprites to make them stand out a little bit more. Did y'all do anything like that with Neverwinter Nights, or did you only make everything crisper?
So for Neverwinter Nights, it's a fully 3D game, and Baldur's Gate was 2D sprites on a 2D background, so we had to apply some filters there.
Okay.
For Neverwinter, because it's 3D, we've actually been able to do some really cool things. So those advanced graphics options kind of do that. So they'll enhance the lighting of an environment, make the lighting feel a lot less flat, that sort of thing. So your character will actually stand out quite a bit more in their environment. But we didn't have to apply a filter over top. We just made the existing graphics look a lot better.
So it just did it on its own. It did it by default.
It was magic, if you will.
It was auto magic, the magic of electrons. Okay, so and then we can enable contrast, vibrance, and depth of field options as preferred. That's nice.
That is a pretty cool feature.
That's very cool, especially for me, depth of field. That's something I tinker with a lot if my computer is having problems. All right, community endorsed. Original developers, listen to this, original developers have teamed with key members of the Neverwinter Nights community to curate important fan-requested improvements to support players, storytellers, and modders. So to break that down into layman's terms, Beamdog just didn't say, hey, this is what you guys want and throw it out there. Y'all went out and talked to them and said, what do you want?
Yeah.
And then you threw it out there. So
we didn't just talk to them, we recruited them.
Yeah.
So just like we did with the Infinity Engine games, for Neverwinter, we reached out to some people in the community that have been modding this thing for, 13 years now. And they know the game almost better than the original developers at this point.
Well, yeah,
so
because they pushed it to its limits.
People.
Yeah.
So these people out there have this incredibly rare skill set, and we just spoke to them and said, hey, this is what we're doing. Do you want to get involved? They all jumped at the chance because they love this game and they love the community that it spawned. And everybody seems to be incredibly positive about what we're doing and what the future of this project is.
Well, y'all need to stop making sense with decisions like that. That's not how companies are supposed to work, Phil. Supposed to throw it out there and tell us we like it. All right.
Well, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I won't fault you. Next time, though, make sure to do it the corporate way. Okay.
We'll be a lot more prescriptive this next time.
Please. You're damaging my concept of how things work. Okay. And then finally, and honestly, for me, this is the most exciting thing you did because it shows just so much love to the community. Backwards compatibility. Works with save games, modules, and mods from the original Neverwinter Nights. A galaxy of community-created content. That is so... It says a galaxy community-created content awaits. That is so cool, man. Because most times they're like, sorry, we couldn't make it happen. But you guys, you're like, no, that's important.
No, that was the main focus of the project. So the day that we sat down and decided, okay, are we going to do this? The first thing I said was, okay, no matter what we do, there has been 13 years of people creating incredible amounts of content and putting their heart and soul and blood and sweat and tears into the stuff. And if we throw it out the back of the truck, what was the point of doing this?
No.
So everyone kind of was on the same page about that. Like, yeah, we have an existing community. We have to serve their needs first before we do anything else. So that's been kind of our main focus. Dude,
that's so cool. I mean, seriously, putting aside the radio host hat and just being a geek, like I would hug you right now. I would come in and I would give high fives to everybody at Beam. That's cool, man. That's the way to do it. I mean, that's cool. You're not just trying to take a known game and make a quick buck off of it. You're trying to be good to the community and grow the community and show. That's cool, man.
And we were very lucky. I mean, to have this perfect storm of, the ex-Bioware developers, an existing Neverwinter community that's highly motivated, and just the perfect timing and confluence of events it's been a lucky project for us, and we're very aware that this isn't going to happen all the time. This is a rare treat for us to get to do this.
Excellent. All right, I got to get us to another break. The last break we took a little bit late, so there's less time in between breaks. But I'm going to give us to a break. When we come back, we'll wrap up talking about Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition, and then it'll be the show, man. Radio time goes so quick. All right, so here we go. Some goblins are your friends. Game Goblins is Central Arkansas's premier retailer of Magic the Gathering, Warhammer 40K, board games, card games, RPGs, miniatures, and hobby accessories. And folks, this weekend, this is March 24th. Don't run over there if you're listening to the podcast version, but they're doing the Star Wars Legion release, which is sort of a Warhammer Star Wars, or it's a miniatures Star Wars war game, kind of like Warhammer. So get over there and check that out. They're going to be demoing it. But call Game Goblins at 501-224-GAME or visit them online at gamegoblins.com. That's 501-224-GAME or gamegoblins.com. For all your gaming needs, I heartily recommend Game Goblins. Make sure to check out their customer loyalty program that rewards you based on your actual purchases. Game Goblins earns your business and keeps it. First-time customers mention Shane Plays and receive $10 off your purchase of $50 or more. Tell them Shane Plays sent you. Hey, welcome back to Shane Plays Geek Talk, a journey into things we love. I'm Shane Stacks, your host, and I'm joined by Phil Daigle, the studio director of Beamdog, and we are talking about Siege of Dragonspear mobile version and also Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition. Now, the Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition will be released on March 27th on Steam, or you can get it at the Beamdog site and get a Steam key, and it will also be coming to GOG at some point. Now, Siege of Dragonspear mobile is available. It was on Apple and Google Play Store right now, from what I understand, on both.
Correct, yes.
On both. Okay, great.
iOS and Android.
Yes, iOS and Android. I don't know why I sang that. I just did. These things happen on live radio. So Zach's in there looking at me like I'm an idiot. Yes, Zach, I am an idiot, but I'm the idiot on the microphone, baby. So I've got 6 more minutes to be an idiot. All right, so a couple of quick questions for you. Now, I did have a friend of mine named Robbie Sambat sent in a question, and this actually talks more about the Infinity Engine, but I wanted to make sure to work this in. He said he's interested to know, are there any plans to keep the Infinity Engine going with new games with different stories, characters, and settings? Or, I guess saying basically like maybe non-D&D stuff or new D&D stories or whatever.
Unfortunately, I cannot reveal any future Infinity Engine plans.
Okay.
Obviously, it's getting pretty old at this point. It's hard to justify producing new content for it, but there are rumblings of something that might get released in the future. But that's what I'll leave it at.
Okay,
there might be some hope for the Infinity Engine in the distant future. We'll see.
So every time y'all have Tex-Mex as a team, the next day there's rumblings about possibly.
That's right.
Okay, got it. All right. I think it would be neat. And I'm not volunteering you for anything, but I think it'd be neat if they came out with some sort of game tools, like the Aurora tools for an Infinity Engine. That would be pretty cool. But anyway.
Well, there's actually a bit of a story behind that. So the reason that Neverwinter Nights was built the way that it was actually a direct response to how game content was built in the Infinity Engine. So the Infinity Engine was built at a time where the concept was, hey, rather than construct an elaborate tool that could automate this very complex process, why don't we just throw 50 interns at it instead?
Oh.
So there was a lot of handcrafting.
It was the Mechanical Turk.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
That model. And then Neverwinter was the exact opposite, which was, hey, let's build every possible system we can to be as automated as possible, so that you press a single button and out the other side comes Expedition to the Barrier Peaks.
Gotcha. Okay. So I got about 3 minutes here, so I'll try to get through one more thing here. Immortal, who is a user on the RPG Codex, so I put on my flame-proof underwear and went into the RPG Codex, and they were responding to that, and they said the Infinity Engine is notoriously difficult to develop for compared to, say, Aurora or Unity Unreal. Even generating new sprites or whatever sounds like a huge pain. So that sounds like he's kind of seconding what you just said.
Yeah, it's a beautiful engine when everything is done, but getting it there is a huge exhausting effort. So
it's a arts and crafts project versus a assembly line.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly what it is.
Fair enough. Well, one last question for you. So with Beamdog's successful track record with these D&D franchises, is it basically a given at this point when you ask to do a new one, or is it like? Are you back to square one every time with negotiations?
No, we're pretty tight with Wizards of the Coast at this point. Our relationship goes back to 2009, 2010. We're really tight with those guys. It's kind of expected that we're the go-to guys to do this sort of project. So Neverwinter Nights was kind of a slam dunk. Everybody knew that we were the guys to do it. They wanted us to do it. We wanted to do it. It was perfect.
All right, so gotcha. The question that you can't answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Are there any serious plans at this moment for Neverwinter Nights 2?
So Neverwinter Nights 2 was developed by Obsidian instead of BioWare, and I can say that we've had some discussions around it, but I can't say one way or another if anything's going to happen. Gotcha.
Okay. Well, we're pretty much drawing down now. I think I got one more time for one more question. We got about a minute and a half. Was working in D&D 3rd edition rules a big adjustment for the team after working in 2E with Baldur's Gate, or was it a non-issue because the Aurora engine already had all that stuff baked in?
So we were kind of more familiar with 3rd edition than we were with 2nd edition, because 2nd Ed was replaced right at the time that Neverwinter Nights initially came out with 3rd edition. So everyone who had worked on Neverwinter was deeply familiar with 3rd Ed because they had to implement it. And then anyone who hadn't worked on the Infinity Engine and had joined Beamdog later was already familiar with 3rd, 4th, 5th edition. So 3rd Ed is actually more familiar to us than 2nd Ed at this point.
Interesting. Okay. Well, there you go. So, all right. Are you ready for the bad joke of the week?
Oh, I'm ready.
Are you sure?
I can't wait.
Are you ready? All right. How do you measure the radius of an enchanted forest?
How do you measure the radius of an enchanted forest?
You find the centaur, of course.
I need to sit down. I'm getting sweaty here. This is upsetting.
All right, man. Always a pleasure. I enjoy having Beamdog on. Stay in touch.
Thanks for having me. This was great.
Yeah, love to chat with you in the future. Folks, March 27th, go get your copy of Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition, and go get your copy of Siege of Dragonspear on mobile now. Phil, have a good one. Tell everyone at Beamdog I said yo.
You too. Talk to you later.
All right, take care, man.
The Frozen North, the name given to the stark and unforgiving frontier that lies beyond the high moor of Faerun. A bleak wilderness where barbarian clans and tribes of giants roam the land, and fierce dragons rule the skies. But amidst the frozen savagery stands a bastion of civilization, the city of Neverwinter, jewel of the north. Behind the city's high walls, those both hardy and brave carve out an existence from this bleak land under the guidance and protection of the legendary hero, Lord Nasher Alagonda. Yet there are some things that all the courage in the world cannot stand against.
Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/ShanePlays.